Spicers, which is really cool. So we had a chat over breakfast this morning about how you can control sort of your portion size and stay on plan or stay within, how your lifestyle suits. And we got to cover a few basic, topics, I suppose. And the first one of those was, I asked the question to Karen, how do you know if you feel full? You say listen to your body a lot. So that's the question I asked.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things in that. It's listening to those hunger signals, and how do you determine when you're full or not? Some things I tell people to do is eat slowly. So there's lots of messages that go from our stomach to our brain that tells us when we are full. The faster we eat, the less likely we are to recognize those symptoms. So chew your food thoroughly, put your knife and fork down in between, pick it up again, resume eating. Really kind of savor the meal and listen to what your brain is telling you. And once you are in tune with those signals, you will realize how full you're actually feeling and when to actually stop.
I felt, and you said to me, listen to your belly.
Yep.
And that was a little weird, but I did focus on my belly, took a moment, and I sort of felt like it was, some of the food was rising to my diaphragm sort of thing. So I was definitely full. So I stopped at that point in time, and that's the first time that... No, yes and no. The food was wonderful, and that whole payment thing, which is the next two things we're going to talk about. But no, I didn't want to, but it was great because
and that's
I
probably
did
one
stop.
of the hardest things for people to recognize is that you've got, and it's more when it's out of your control, you've got this plate of food that is delicious and you're enjoying it, and you know that you're actually going to leave some of it. And it's actually being okay with that.
Yeah.
It's okay to leave some of the food.
And that was the next topic that we talked about was sort of visually sizing the food on your plate and comparing it against what you have, say, at home when you're weighing your food. Last night I got some Wagyu steak, which I knew was 200 grams. So I just went, right, well, I'm eating 2/3 of that, which is roughly my portion size, and that's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
Once again, though, which gets us into the social normie bit, the thought that that's a really expensive cut, it was interesting. But then how I've rationalized it today was we live in a world of abundance, and to be fortunate enough to choose to leave some on the plate or not take the whole thing just because it's there actually felt quite satisfying. It was quite a gratifying feeling that we live in this world of abundance, and I get to choose how I control me and how I can be my best me. The other topic we talked about was social norms, and I've got to eat everything on my plate. That's how I was raised.
Yeah, I think it was how a lot of us were raised. It was, you don't leave anything, you be grateful for what you've got. Even as a child, you can't leave the table until you've finished. So we've been brought up with this mentality, but we shouldn't need to continue with that mentality once we actually know how to control it ourselves. And what I also find a lot of people do is they eat what's on their plate to please others as well. So like even this morning, knowing like we were sitting there, we had breakfast, and both of us left food on our plate, and the waiter came over to pick it up, and you feel guilty that you've left this incredible food and you don't want to disappoint somebody by not eating it.
Yeah, especially the chef who gets the food. He doesn't see our response. But what I actually said in that situation to the waiter was, that was so fabulous and tasty, but it was your serving size here is so massive, to which he took a compliment on, and no doubt, and I said, please tell the chef that the food is just awesome here and we love it. So that felt pretty good.
Yeah.
And that it compelled us to make this video. So there you go. That's
and look, my tips were eat slowly, savor the food, listen to the fullness in your belly. So, and what I would say with that is when you are in control of your food, and this is more for that phase 2 of metabolic balance, but it becomes really relevant when you step into phase 3, because we don't want people weighing their foods forever. So phase 2 is also about having the right portion size for you, but having the right portion size for you to recognize how much food you need in your belly and what fullness feels like.
Yep.
So they're the things that we want to take into phase 3 when we can plate our foods ourselves. But or even go out and eat, but recognize when to actually stop.
And don't forget those social cues. It's okay to leave things on your plate. Eat until satiety. That's what it's all about. And lastly, just use that visual. You know what your size looks like when you eat at home. So use that as a visual goal setting. Translate that to the plate you're about to eat, and then eat to that and feel satisfied that you've hit a goal.
And even like when you're out, if you're out, you get a big, massive plate of food, take it home with you.
Yeah.
Even if you don't eat it, maybe you've got the dog that eats it or the kids that eat it. So it's not necessarily wasting the food that's there. Think about the other things you can do with it.
Cool. And just to wrap it up, just going to show you what we're looking at, which is kind of cool. Hopefully it won't be too overexposed. But yeah, take this all in place. There you go.